Hi, my name is Sherry Walker, and welcome to The Real Take. Today, we'll be reviewing the movie Sleight, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Sleight is about a street magician who's left to care for his little sister after the death of his mother. And he ends up turning to selling drugs, which he really started out only being just a temporary thing until he could figure out a way to get his sister out of Los Angeles into another neighborhood. But it ended up being more than he actually.
This is turning into something I would have never signed up for. I never thought it'd get dangerous.
I think Bo may have knew how dark that world can be. I think, and again, yes, he uses his magic to get out of those situations, to get out of the darkness of drug dealing, where he went from selling drugs to his peers, to kids that want to party and things of that such. But when he sees the territorial aspect of it and the beef between this person and this person, that's something he didn't want to be part of. That's not something he signed up for. And we see his brain power used on escaping that situation.
I need more power. This isn't for a trick, is it?
There's a lot of things in our lives that can trap us. But these barriers only exist if we let them.
Sleight is directed by J.D. Dillard and written by Dillard along with his co-writer.
So I co-wrote this with Alex Thier. We've been writing together for a while now. And we kind of come from the science fiction space, and Sleight really was like an exploration of telling a story that we could shoot in our backyard and kind of ground and, bring out of space and bring away from terraform planets and tell it in LA. And, centered around a kid that we really haven't seen at the head of a genre movie.
He has done such a magnificent job with this movie that people are already slating him as the next indie filmmaker to catapult into the big leagues of Hollywood. Dillard, along with his writing partner Alex Thier, wrote this basically as just a short script. They filmed it in the summer of 2015 with a very tight budget. And they actually filmed this in 16 days, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, Sleight, we shot in 16 days in the summer of 2015, which, I've been on a lot of other sets, and the amount we were shooting in a day is kind of unlike anything I'd experienced. So, it really was important that we had a game plan going in, but, still leave a little bit of space for, if something spontaneous happened or if we discovered something, there's still space to do that. But, Sleight weirdly is a movie that was kind of built out of its constraints. Like, we knew how much of a budget we were going to have going into it. We knew that it had to stay in LA. So, I think with that, we just had to get creative with what we were going to do in the movie. And obviously, sure, it would have always been great to have more money and have more time. But, Sleight really, we knew what we wanted going into it, and that's really just what we stuck to.
Now, J.D. Dillard himself has always had a fascination with magic. He's actually a magician himself. And for this movie, he wanted to incorporate that, but he wanted to do something a little bit different than your average, like, street kid, selling drug kind of movie.
We've seen the sort of South Central story in a number of movies, and for us, it just felt like we wanted to inhabit different territory. Mm-hmm. And I think kind of makes Bo more relatable because, where he's selling are places that we've all been to. It's the clubs and the restaurants and the bars that like I go to. So it places him in a slightly different world. So, Bo, beyond just being a magician, is a brilliant engineering mind, and he's found a way to do a levitation trick in a way that no one else can, using sort of a spin on electromagnetism.
What's your name?
Holly.
You can grab it, Holly.
But, the reason why people have been saying it's kind of a superhero origin story is that this sort of technique that
that.
he's developed, he's built inside of his own body and allows him to do this trick a way that no one else can.
Now, as JD was doing this movie, he discovered the art of cardistry. And actually, cardistry is like the manipulation of cards in magic tricks.
So cardistry is this kind of cool subculture that I guess would technically be under magic, but what's funny is that it has so many more relationships to like skateboard culture. So, you know, when we were putting Sleight together, I reached out to this kid who is now a good friend, Zach Mueller, and he owns Fontaine Cards. And you know, a lot of people have already seen Zach online with these viral videos where he does like completely mind-blowing things with decks of cards, and these decks he makes himself. And he can, you know, cut an entire deck in half with one hand and do all of these crazy flourishes. But it's like less about the trick and more about sort of the performative aspect. So, you know, in wanting Sleight to feel cool and current and contemporary, we reached out to Zach immediately to sort of get him on board. You know, all the cards that you see in the movie are Fontaine cards, but then also we had Zach and Jacob spend a lot of time together just to get Jacob comfortable with cards. And, you know, it was less about knowing how to perform the tricks, but, you know, when we see Bo hold the cards, it looks like he's held them 1,000 times before in his life.
Now, Dillard found the perfect person to play Bo. He wanted somebody charismatic, with quick wit, somebody that the audience would have sympathy for, that can play that vulnerable role, but then at the same time can play a strong character too.
So it was great working with Jacob Latimore on this because he is really good at sort of adapting to all the shifting environments that Bo has to go through. So, you know, there's sort of the tenderness required to talk to his little sister. There's the intelligence he needs to talk about the science, and the street smarts to talk with the drug dealers, and the charisma to talk to his love interest, Holly. But then also that charisma sort of like shifted a different way to perform magic. So, you know, in casting Bo, we really needed to find someone who could be authentic in each of those environments, which Jacob does remarkably.
Now, every great movie has a villain, and this movie isn't any different. The villain in this movie is Angelo, and Angelo is played by dancer, actor Dulé Hill.
You know, I think looking at Dulé, what's so great is, yeah, we haven't seen him in a role like this, and with Bo being as smart as he is, I think it really helps to see that, you know, the sort of gateway into this darker world really came through a smiling face. So Dulé is just sort of, I think, good counter-programming to what we expect
you think that
sort
makes
of,
me
you know,
feel?
a drug kingpin to be.
Put the talk down. You right-handed or left-handed?
Am I what?
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm a lefty.
A southpaw? I feel like you're fucking lying. Maybe not. Tighten that around his left arm. In case you're wondering, I'm not gonna kill you tonight. You know what they used to do to liars and thieves back in the day?
Now, if you go see this movie, right at the end, you'll realize that, hey, this could be some kind of beginning of a superhero kind of thing.
This is just a young kid who was trying to make a way, and a kid obsessed with magic. And, you know, when we finally seen the movie, okay, well, maybe Bo can be something else if he keeps working on it. Maybe maybe he can develop into something much bigger. And I mean, it obviously looks like a superhero origin story. How a lot of superheroes maybe started out and how they developed their power. I mean, well, when we filmed this movie, we didn't necessarily think of it that way until we actually sat back and saw the full puzzle put together. I think we went in and were just, this is a young kid who's just trying to make a way.
Bo's love interest in this movie is Holly, and Holly is played by Seychelle Gabriel. Gabrielle, if she looks familiar, that's because she played in 38 episodes of TNT's The Falling Skies. Dillard has some interesting projects coming up next.
So, Blumhouse bought our movie out of Sundance, and we're teaming back up with them to shoot a movie called Sweetheart with Kiersey Clemons from Dope and the upcoming The Flash movie. And that's sort of, again, a jump back into genre, but a little bit more on the survival horror side, but still obviously staying under the umbrella of genre. So we're working on that, and then right now we're in very, very, very early talks to potentially come on for me to co-write with Alex and to direct the remake of The Fly for Fox.
Jacob Latimore has more than just acting skills. He actually has music skills.
Yeah, my music. I'm still continuing to do music. I released an album in December called Connection, real R&B driven album. I've been inspired by music ever since I was 6 years old, from my dad and my uncles. They form a gospel quartet, the Latimore Brothers now. When I was younger, they were singing R&B music. But it's just always been around me, that energy, that music is just in my blood. Kenny Latimore is a cousin of mine, and he's been doing R&B music for a very long time. So I've always loved performing, whether it was singing a song or now portraying other people, or portraying a character. Upcoming projects, after Sleight in August, I have a movie coming out with Catherine Bigelow. She's director, Catherine Bigelow. She's an incredible director. I'm so happy I got a chance to work with her. We did a film based around the 1967 Detroit riots. So sort of a time period film that we're really excited about. And we shot it last year. Excited about it. I can't really go into the story of the movie exactly, but we're exposing a lot of characters, exposing a lot of situations.
That's all we have for today. See you next time at the movies.